Hi, this is Sean Murphy of SK Murphy. I want to welcome you to the Thursday, October 12th PATCA webinar. PATCA is the Professional and Technical Consultants Association. We're a nonprofit professional association dedicated to serving independent consultants and the client companies that hire them. For more info, see www.patca.org. We're fortunate today to have a briefing by Katie Munoz on leading with humor in a diverse world. Katie Munoz has been teaching public speakers how to use humor for 25 years. She has a BS in computer science and worked initially as a software engineer. Katie is living proof that even a naturally serious person can use humor. Her claim to fame is being the program manager for the very first SDCard driver. These days, she is an award-winning international speaker on the topic of humor. She specializes in monetizing marketing messages, speech writing, and helping clients find their funny bones. Katie.
Thank you, Sean. I am delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And to get us started off, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever gotten stuck in a long, boring presentation? Well, you know what's worse? What's worse is when you are the presenter. That sucks. My mission is to make sure that never happens to you. So we are going to talk about how to use humor in leadership situations, because humor, it reduces tension, it increases productivity, it makes whatever message you're delivering memorable, and it builds camaraderie. It makes your teams like each other. So why not? It's there. On the agenda today, I want to teach you the essential element of humor. There is one thing that all humor has in common: a 3-step process to lighten a difficult moment, 3 techniques to construct a quick quip or a joke on the spot, and then there's a bonus tip that I just added yesterday that I hope you find useful. So let's start with, what is it that humor has in common? There is one thing, and that is surprise. Sudden, sharp, abrupt surprise. And I want to give you an example of this. A cowboy strides out of a bar, only to find that somebody has painted his horse green. He comes bursting back in the bar. "Which one of you sons of guns painted my horse green?" And this big, ugly-looking stranger stands up in the back and says, "I did." Well, the cowboy looks him up and he looks him down and he says, "I just wanted to tell you that the first coat's dry." Do you see how that was surprising? Humor is based on either a sudden increase in tension, a sharp decrease in tension, an abrupt shift of meaning. Whatever it is, it has to be utterly unexpected. So let me tell you how to put this knowledge to work to lighten a difficult moment. Now, you probably are all dealing with some kind of leadership situation in your lives. Some of you are raising kids, some of you are program managers, some of you have employees. And I'm wondering if you have ever been in the situation where you've been nervous about something and somebody has come to you and said, "Ah, don't worry, you'll nail this. I have total faith in you." Now, this is what we're tempted to say when somebody expresses anxiety. The problem is that it puts you under more pressure because, well, great, now I'm going to disappoint you too if I fail. So what can you do? How can you use humor in a way that actually lessens the tension of the moment? This is your 3-step process. And before I get into that, I want to mention that there is a handout, and there's a place on that handout to start writing things down, all nice, neat, organized, so you can keep track of it later, because I really hope you find this useful. Step number 1 is you need to acknowledge that something's wrong, that something has just gone belly up. Now imagine for a minute that you walk into the printer room in your office and one of your coworkers has just had an ink cartridge explode and just douse them with ink. Now imagine that the first thing you do is say, ha, Joe, you sure look great in magenta. Do you think that's going to get a laugh? Or do you think Joe is going to be tempted to leave a handprint on your chin in magenta? Probably not the right moment for humor. The first thing you need to do is at least say, oh my God, are you okay? So that's step 1. Acknowledge something's gone wrong. Step 2 is offer help. Get Joe some paper towels. Help him get the ink off his glasses. Make sure that things are settling down. Step 3 is, this has to wait until after the crisis is settled, that nobody's in danger anymore. Now you can crack your joke. Well, Joe, I hear magenta's all the rage this season. Now that technique is making an absurd benefit out of whatever mishap just happened. And I want to give you a chance. Oh, I forgot to ask if I'm set up to do breakout rooms. Can we do breakout rooms, Sean?
Thanks for the heads up on that, Katie. That'll take a minute or two.
Okay, well, we're going to just do it together this time, and maybe we'll do breakout rooms in groups of 3 in a minute. So what I want you to do is think about this technique of absurd benefit. And I'm going to give you a new scenario and take 3 minutes and see if you can come up with a quip, or maybe you can come up with a lot of quips that highlight an absurd benefit from this situation. Do you guys understand what I'm asking for?
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay, so here's the situation. You're leading a volunteer trail maintenance crew out there on hiking trails in the mountains, and one of your volunteers slips and falls in a creek, icy cold water. Ugh. Step 1 is acknowledge the situation. You know, you can say these things to me. I'll just like read your lips and know that you're with me, right? That would be nice, because it's tough to just talk to a blank screen. So acknowledge. Step 2 is
Offer help.
offer help. Definitely. And step 3 happens after. Go ahead, Sean. You can be the teacher.
Humor is emotional chaos recalled in tranquility. Wait till things are tranquil.
Yeah, or at least calm down, definitely.
Yes.
So now I want you to take 3 minutes and think of whatever absurd benefit that you can come up with that you can offer the person who just fell in a creek after they're dried off, hopefully sitting in front of a fire getting warmed up. Okay?
And do you want to do breakup rooms for this or just have people answer individually?
If you are ready for breakout rooms, yeah, let's put people in groups of 3 in breakout rooms.
Okay.
And we will give everybody 4 minutes and see how many quips you can come up with together. When we get back together, we'll share those. So if you want to pick a spokesperson, that would be cool.
All right, here we go.
How did that go? Did you guys get some good ideas?
No.
No, it didn't work.
We
but
need
It
help.
didn't
we
work.
don't blame you, Katie. We did the best we could, you know.
Okay, well, Karen was in my breakout room and she came up with a bunch of good ones. So Karen, why don't you share a couple?
Oh, that's too kind of you to say. And so one of them was, oh, you've been initiated into our group. Another one is, oh, you look like you're the cleanest person on the team. Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
those
that's
were
cool.
mine, but you came up with good ones too. Let's hear one that you came up with.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, just all same thing with the clean, you know, now at least you're clean, or you look really good wet.
I like that one.
I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah, we got on a fish theme
Oh,
to begin
tell
with.
us.
In our thing, it said, you know, did you see any fish while you were out there, or something
like
of
that one.
nature? Or somebody did a theme on it, says, are there any fish in your pocket? Now I'd like to have one, or something, yeah, something like that.
Oh, that's great. I like that.
Let me see. I don't know. Are you ready to go back in to try again? I don't
Like that.
So anyhow, let's hear some
Thank
others.
you for sharing, Carl. What about you, Kimberly? Did your group come up with some good things?
We did. Maria has some really good ones. Maria, you want to share
Yeah.
them?
Okay. So the first one was, oh, you look hot in wet look.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You look hot in wet look.
Oh,
Another one is, oh, good, your clothes are not see-through.
oh, I like that one. That was good. That was good.
Another one was, okay, they say to stop and smell the roses. I guess going into the creek is another way to interpret this.
Cute.
Another one is, okay, now whoever else needs a water break can jump in.
Good
I
one.
like that one.
And a variation of the water break is, okay, when we said to take a water break, that is not exactly what we meant.
Nice. I like that one.
Great. Thank you for sharing. What about you, Chuck?
Actually, ours was the group where Carl came up with the "Are there any fish down there?" And I segued off of Carl because I was getting a total blank and said, "Check your pockets for fish."
I
Oh,
love
that was
So-
good.
So the
That's good.
idea of us segueing in a difficult situation, I thought might be useful to the group.
I didn't even think about fish when I was thinking of rejoinders, and coming up with fish in your pockets is brilliant.
Yeah, and the point is we can segue off someone else and further reduce the tension.
And what that is actually the basis of improv. So good for you, taking the theme that's presented and running with it. Does anybody else got some really great ones they just want to share before we go on?
Yeah, I can share a few with you. Each one of us, Chris, Rolf, and myself came up with one. Chris's one was, do you need a lifeline? Mine was, what was mine again? Oh, it's a little bit cold to take a dip. And Rolf, remind me which one yours was again.
Oh, the same. It's already been talked about. Fish, seeing fish down there, and the other one was at least you
Do
don't
you
need
see any
that.
fish down there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
don't need to take another shower.
So fish, too cold for a diff, and lifeline.
Awesome. Good job. You guys really ran with that. Good for you. I want to give you a different technique. So that was technique 1. And that is look for an absurd benefit. Back when I was a program manager in the software industry, I had a situation where one of my employees was chasing an intermittent bug. And I'm sure you guys know that that really is hard because you don't know if you've isolated it. You can't tell if you fixed it. So he was telling me about that. And I said, dang, that sounds really tough. Do you want a second pair of eyes? So that's step 1. Step 2, we acknowledged, offered help. And he said, no, not yet. So we're on to step 3. And I said, okay, well, can I get you a cup of tea, a can of Coke, a fire extinguisher maybe? And he kind of looked at me and said, what? Oh, yeah, I'm going to spray that sucker down. And this is awesome. This is Vu was stepping up, taking the theme and playing back with it. And if somebody does that, if possible, you want to play back to them. So in this case, you could say, yeah, show that bug who's boss. If you can't think of a rejoinder on the spot, that's okay too. What you want to do is just chuckle and smile and leave it at that and know that you appreciated their joining in. So that's offering a ridiculous, offering a ridiculous solution. And I want to give you the chance now to have a different scenario and see what difficult solutions or ridiculous solutions you can come up with. So imagine you've taken your team out on a team bonding adventure on a fishing expedition on the ocean, and you suddenly realize that one of the crew members is furiously bailing water out of the boat. Step 1 is, oh no. Step 2 is offer help. But in step 2, I want to ask you this question. Have you ever had somebody insist on giving you help, but just gotten in the way? This could happen because maybe all you have to bail with is a little party cup, and they've got a bucket, and there you are taking up room. So my advice to you on step number 2 is be willing to take no for an answer. But now we go on to step number 3. If the water's not still coming in, the captain's not yelling, Mayday, into the radio. Now we can start thinking of absurd solutions. So I'd like to send everybody back into breakout rooms.
Please, let's do it as a group.
Okay, we'll do that. That would be fine. Can I just call on people?
Absolutely, you're welcome to facilitate. I think we'll get a lot more mileage out of it if you're facilitating than if we do the breakouts again.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to call on people. If you've got an idea, a burning idea, hit the button that raises your hand so that I can tell you're there, because I can't see everybody. But other than that, I'm just going to call on somebody I haven't called on before, like we're in a boat, is taking on water. crew member is bailing furiously, and now the water level is steady. There's not new water coming in. It's not a crisis. Now you want to release the tension. So what could you say that would be just kind of a light quip, an absurd solution?
We were running low on drinking water.
I like that. Nice one, David.
I don't know. Maybe I go with what Maria said. Thanks God I don't have a see-through cloth.
That's good. That's good. I like it.
Katie, Chuck has his hand up.
Great, Chuck. Let's hear from you.
AMD was a great place to learn humor. I could almost seriously say, gee, if we were at AMD, we would have drilled a hole in the bottom of the boat to let the water out faster.
Awesome. What about Kevin Paredes?
That's a tough one, Katie. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really have anything.
That's okay. I'm gonna supply one or two of my own. I thought that we could say, oh, wow, do we need to all jump in the water to lighten the load? Or does anybody want to do a little Dutch boy and stick their finger in the crack?
So I have an idea.
Excellent. Go for it.
Who wants to join me for a bubble bath?
Who wants to join me for what?
A
Bubble bath.
Awesome. I like that. So,
And I have another one.
yeah.
So we're not done yet. We need to add more water.
Cool. Got any more bubbling in there before we move on? Okay. I want to move on to technique number 3. Now, humor is not only useful in tense moments. You can use humor to celebrate successes. And this is really especially useful if you want to compliment somebody who's just kind of awkward about accepting praise directly. So maybe somebody on your team is just churning through their to-do list and you can say, dude, you tore through that list like a shark through a school of tuna. That is comparing somebody to an entity that evokes a sense of power. Do you need another? Let me give you another example. Dude, you got that straightened out like Wonder Woman with her lasso of truth. So it's a comparison that evokes a sense of power. And I'd like you to take a minute and, well, actually before that, there's a caveat I want to put in here. Because there's all kinds of heroic figures that you could choose from, but not all of them are going to float equally. This is where you got to exercise a little cultural sensitivity. What if you compared somebody to Genghis Khan churning through that bug list like the Mongol hordes? Now, to Americans, Genghis Khan lived a very long time ago, and it was all so far away that we kind of think of him as a cartoon character. Unfortunately, there are parts of Asia where their history is a lot longer than ours. And Genghis Khan is still remembered as a very destructive force of evil for what happened to their land when the Mongols invaded. So with that, oh, and there was one other example I wanted to give you. Joan of Arc is another person you might say, wow, you know, great person to compare somebody to, brilliant statistician. That's the word.
Strategist.
Strategist. There we go. Thank you. Problem is, if you think about the whole story of Joan of Arc, the end of her life was tragic. So if you pick an actual historical character, you can be bringing in suggestions of things that you didn't actually mean to include. So when you're doing this to compare somebody to an entity that evokes power, you want to stay away from actual historical figures and actual, say, natural disasters. For instance, I had a project team that was named Mount Mazama. Mazama was a volcano that erupted 4,000 years ago in Oregon, and there isn't any record of that having happened, so there aren't people around that could be triggered or offended by that reference. So do you understand this technique? And can you take a minute and see if you can think of some of your own ways to compliment a coworker or one of your children in a way that compares them to an entity that evokes power? Cynthia, looks like you're writing away there. Do you have any ideas you can share with us?
I was just thinking of using an animated character. I hadn't
Good.
think of a situation, but like Star Wars characters or Bugs Bunny, those that people wouldn't be offended by.
I think that's excellent. Can you compose one of those, use one of those characters and make the compliment? If not, I'm putting you on the spot. And if you can't do it on the spot, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that part, but
Okay, that's okay. Maria, how about you?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay. Anybody want to volunteer on this one?
I was thinking of something that had to do with a character like Roadrunner. So what could you say? You went through that list like the Roadrunner. I don't know, or something of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. You could say, wow, you ran through that list so fast, you left everybody spinning around like the Roadrunner. Mark, we haven't heard from you. Do you have some ideas?
Well, so I have two kids, 25 and 27, and I got advice when they were very little to compliment them. And I don't know if I've complimented them on somebody with power, but I'll compliment them on something that they've done. I have to incorporate with power, somebody with power. But I would usually give them some type of compliment that's relative to them and to what they're trying to achieve versus somebody with power. So that's an interesting,
perfectly okay. Compliments are really, really important, whatever form they take. The things I'm sharing with you today is hardly an exhaustive list of how to do this.
Yeah, but as far as the bailing question, I would have probably said something like, well, too bad this isn't vodka or rum, and this stuff would disappear like that.
I like it. Very nice. Chris, you've had some good ideas earlier. Do you have anything on this one?
Are we complimenting a little kid or something like that?
It could be complimenting on your child on achieving a goal. Could be complimenting one of your employees.
To a kid, I would say my little Superman.
Excellent. I like that.
The kid will get inspired.
I don't know about you guys, when I was a kid, just holding a towel over my shoulders made me feel like I could fly and go running around the yard. And I honestly expected to take off at any moment. That's nice. Okay, let's think about another scenario here. What do you do if your whole team has been going through a long slog and just problems have been coming up? They're all demoralized. Do you jump right in there and try to make them happy again? Or maybe it's not time yet? When a whole team is down and it's a big deal like this, you need a bigger acknowledgement. You need to meet people where they are. And what I'm going to suggest to you is going to sound counterintuitive in the beginning, but come with me and I'll show you how this works. We want to invite the team to complain. We want to say, you know, this situation totally sucks. And then you want to get people to vent, to tell you, you know, and then this happened, and then that happened. What we're doing is we're inviting them to go on a rant. And a rant on a common, shared frustration is a tried and true comedy technique. If you think about the professional comedians that you've heard a whole lot of them say, well, you know what I hate? I really hate the way that I get stuck in the damn phone tree. And then they go off and they tell you all about the phone tree, right? So you're going to invite your team to rant. First, you invite them to complain. You lead them from complaining to venting. You lead them from venting to ranting. And ranting is going to turn funny. I can just about guarantee it. It's going to go on over into, yeah. And the next thing, he's going to expect us to fly down to Texas and make his bed for him. So you want to get people fired up. And once you have them fired up, now they're not depressed. Now they've got energy, they've got some enthusiasm, and now you can return to that evoke power, that using the comparison to evoke a sense of power. You use this shared adversity to lead your team to prove what it can do. So I had a project years ago that was called Voodoo. And we didn't run into this on Voodoo, but if we had, and we'd had an unruly client, might have gotten the team behind, yeah, we're gonna show that guy what Voodoo can do on him. Or if you've got a team that's named after Wolverine, it's time to get our teeth into the game. Or let's sharpen those claws. Now, to use this to your best advantage, you want to have powerful team names or powerful project names from the start. So I want you to take a minute now and think up some powerful team names that you would be able to call back to in a tough moment, just like the head coach does in halftime. Are you going to let those guys wipe your noses in the mud? No, we're the whatever. Do you understand the assignment?
I have a question before we go to that assignment. Quite frankly, uncontrolled or unmanaged ranting session would go sideways and would lead to undesired situations, especially in team and teams of team.
Mm-hmm. It's a tricky situation, and if you have doubts about using it with a particular team, if you know somebody is especially bitter, you might not want to. And I think it's a valid concern. If you feel that the team is fairly harmonious, you can lead them through this and lead them around so that they are unified in the desire to overcome the obstacle. Think about a coach in the locker room.
That's exactly where I'm going, Katie. When it comes to coaching, I don't want to teach them. I don't want to instruct them. I don't want to lead them. I want to coach them. I want to help them to get through what they think is good, what they want, what they desire. And quite frankly, when they're ranting about, especially if there is a process where they have disagreement among them on how to achieve certain things, and that's led to slog, then uncontrolled ranting session definitely leads to a very undesirable situation. So my coaching is that, please, I'm going to have my light leading you to where you want to go. So if what you're doing is undesirable, help me understand, and then help the others understand. So let's open up, let's be transparent and focus on what we're doing. By the way, let's think about what we've done so far and how we've come to here, and try to control them. That's, I don't know, please help me out.
I think you have an extremely valid point. If there is discord within your team, I wouldn't do this. I think what you're suggesting is better, is celebrating the successes and going straight to the comparing the team to an entity with power. You guys have done this, you've done that, you've made me proud, you know, and then compare them to the Wolverine or the Spider-Man or whoever comes to your mind. And another time you wouldn't want to do this is if the frustration is coming from within the company. So if it's the CEO that's driving you crazy, I know you probably don't want to do a rant about that. It's a good point, and I appreciate you for making it. Do you understand what I'm asking, though, as far as choosing a project name that people can be proud of and identify with? Do we have some suggestions for project names? We're going to have to wrap this up fairly quickly here, but let's hear a couple. Chuck, you've had some fun ideas.
Again, I was thinking way back, we had a problem in school with bullying. So we formed the Students Protective Association that taught bullies crime hurts.
Oh my. That sounds like there's a whole lot more to that story. I like the concept.
Yes. Yeah.
Ronald Batter, do you have some ideas you'd like to share?
There's just a million of them. I think they're astronomical stuff. So, you know.
Give me three.
Andromeda.
Nice.
just large global things, not necessarily powerful, but
Oh, huge though, impressive.
Halley's Comet. I don't know. Team names. I think that's about all I can offer on this one right now.
Okay, well, those two were wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Before I go into the review, I'd like to ask for your help. I'm looking for opportunities to present this workshop in conferences, conventions, or at corporate settings. And if you know of a place that you think might be interested, I'm hoping you can put your email into the chat and just put a keyword in there so that when I get back out in touch with you, you remember what it is you wanted to tell me about, and I'll reach out. Could you do that for me?
Sure.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you in advance.
Do these have to be paid opportunities?
Paid would be really nice, but unpaid for tech engineers, you guys are my people, you know? I'll do some unpaid. So now we're going to go into the review here. What are 2 ways to lighten a tough moment? Just go ahead, unmute, shout it out. Nobody's brave enough. Maria, I can see you're paying attention.
Make a joke without offending anyone.
Make a joke, what?
Without offending anyone.
Right, make a joke without offending. You can call out an absurd benefit to this tough situation or offer a ridiculous solution. What are the 3 steps that you want to make sure you've taken before you make light of the situation? Connor?
Again, I usually take them out of their mindset that they are in. Depending on what I'm doing, I may have a class that brings smile in their face, or I may have, I don't know, I have some other things, you know, like I may bring my smiley face and say, let's laugh about what we're doing, and take them out of that moment and then bring them back with fresh new ideas, I think. And that has helped me.
Sounds good. I'd like those sunglasses. You guys are shining so bright. Whoa! Connor, I see you've unmuted. Can you tell us the 3 steps that you want to make sure you take before you crack a joke?
Yeah, you just read the room, you gauge the environment and the temperature of the people that are in it, and make a joke without offending anyone. My question is, though,
yeah,
how do you make jokes that aren't offensive to people when people are looking to be offended?
The thing that I think is important to do is to make sure it's positive. If you tell somebody, you know, sometimes, especially guys, you know, if a guy falls in a creek, it's like, you clumsy jerk. But don't go for insult humor. If, you know, boy, you're swimming like a fish in there, it's a compliment. And people are going to have a hard time getting offended at a compliment. And like I said, stay away from actual historical figures. You can compare them to superheroes, to ferocious animals like sports teams, to, John, I'm going to need your help with vocabulary here again. I don't want to say natural disasters because you never want to bring up a particular natural disaster, but a natural phenomenon like a thunderstorm or were the tsunamis, something like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I just thought of one right now.
Good.
I didn't say this at the time then, but I was at the gym earlier today, and I totally thought this in my head, but there was this guy who was just super laser focused, like punching the there's a big gym bag that they use for boxing and all. And I was just thinking, oh wow, he is like tearing right through that as much as Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator, just never stopping, just like always like can't be untamed, can't be stopped, just always coming for it.
Very nice, very nice. And can you imagine somebody getting offended at you saying such a thing? Be pretty hard, wouldn't it? Okay, it looks like I'm, oh, that wasn't from Sean telling me to get off the stage.
If I may, circle back to your question you asked us to answer. I missed the third step because I thought the 3 steps were acknowledge the problem, offer help, and then introduce the humor. I thought there were 2 steps before introducing the humor. Can you refresh my memory as to what the third step?
I didn't go over it enough. That's my mistake. You want to acknowledge, you want to offer help, you want to wait until after the crisis has calmed down, which might be 2 minutes, it might be a week. You want to make sure that you don't do humor before it's time, because before it's time, it can backfire.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thanks for the question. And thank you all very much for having me. You've been wonderful. I really appreciate you playing along with me. So I hope you will take advantage of all the benefits of humor and see if you can make your workplace more fun.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
All right.